A girl is caught in a strange curse. Whenever a boy touches her, she suffers from severe stomach pain and even faints on the spot. The source of it all turns out to be a mysterious bead. That night, Lee Dam is helping her drunk friend get home when she stumbles and falls to the ground. Jae Jin slowly gets up, then suddenly runs like a madman. When Lee Dam finally catches up, she sees him leaning over a sports car, vomiting. The moment she notices the Ferrari logo, she freezes, then quickly apologizes to the owner nearby and promises to pay for the damage. Woo-yo sees that the two are still students and generously lets them go. At this moment, Lee Dam thinks he is an absolute angel, but just as she is about to leave with her friend, she stumbles again. Woo-yo pulls her back in time, and she instinctively slaps his chest. In the next second, a red bead flies out of his mouth and drops straight into hers. For some reason, she instantly faints. The next day, Lee Dam wakes up in a lavish, unfamiliar mansion. Woo-yo sits nearby, chin in hand, watching her. She recognizes him as the car owner from last night and awkwardly asks why she is here. Woo-yo explains that he needs something back from her. Yesterday she swallowed the bead he has cultivated for nearly 1,000 years in order to become human. Lee Dam doesn't understand what he means, so Woo-yo introduces himself as a nine-tailed fox. To make it easier to retrieve the bead, he suggests they live together for the time being. Lee Dam slowly backs away, thinking how unlucky she is to meet such a lunatic. Just as she pulls out her phone to call the police, a nine-tailed fox suddenly appears before her eyes. Terrified, she faints again. When she wakes up, she sees that familiar face again. Woo-yo knows she must be scared, so he goes to get some tea that will help her relax. But when he asks about her preference, he finds she has already disappeared. Lee Dam thinks she is safe once she escapes from the fox. But the real nightmare just begins. On the bus, a boy accidentally touches Lee Dam, and she immediately feels a tearing pain in her stomach. She drags her weak body all the way to school, only to be suddenly hugged from behind by an old friend. In an instant, her whole body goes limp, when the boy tries to wake her, only making her condition worse. Meanwhile, Woo-yo seems to sense her pain. As soon as he steps outside, he runs into the pale-faced Lee Dam. She asks if her sickness is connected to the bead. Woo-yo replies that it's actually because she touched men who were born in the year of the tiger. Since tigers are natural enemies of foxes, their energy makes the bead weak. Then he gently touches her face and explains that he needs to touch her to get rid of her pain. Sure enough, Lee Dam feels much better. Yet strangely, the bead that stays red for over 900 years suddenly turns blue. Woo-yo looks startled, then explains that's why he asked her to live with him, because she would need him too. To survive, Lee Dam rushes home and packs her bags. Worried the fox might covet her beauty, she spends a fortune on a stun gun and pepper spray just in case. But as soon as she arrives at the mansion, all those self-defense weapons accidentally fall to the ground. The scene turns awkward, and Lee Dam quickly lies that they are gifts for Woo-yo. She adds that she had no time to gift wrap it, but she hopes he likes it. Woo-yo curiously switches on the stun baton, unable to believe this is really a gift. Lying in bed with nothing to protect herself, Lee Dam feels extremely nervous. She expects to lose sleep all night, but unexpectedly sleeps soundly until morning. What surprises her even more is that Woo-yo has stocked the fridge full of food just for her. To make it up to her, he even promises to cover all her tuition fees. Seeing a huge sum flow into her account, Lee Dam is overjoyed. Not long after, Woo-yo tells her he has to go on a business trip to Singapore for a few days. Lee Dam cannot hide her joy, and that very night dresses up as a party girl and heads to a nightclub. The dance floor is packed and she can barely move. Suddenly, a stranger puts his hand on her shoulder. A sharp pain suddenly strikes Lee Dam's stomach. Clearly, she has run into a man born in the year of the tiger. She is in too much pain to speak, but he mistakes her silence for consent and keeps flirting. They end up in a deserted alley, and Lee Dam's face grows paler and paler. The man gives a sinister smile and suggests taking her to a hotel to rest. Lee Dam falls into despair, praying desperately for someone to save her. Far away in Singapore, Woo-yo seems to sense her predicament. The next second, he appears before her and shields her tightly in his arms. As they try to leave, the man blocks their path. He clearly doesn't realize he has provoked a 1,000-year-old nine-tailed fox. With just a gentle push, Wu sends him flying dozens of meters away. After the incident, their relationship seems to ease a little. Wu hopes Li Dam will stop being afraid of him. After all, for the Bead's safety, he must protect her no matter what happens. Hearing this, Li Dam finally lowers her defenses. Later, she grows curious whether the Bead can be taken out. Wu explains that humans can't keep the Bead inside them for long, at most a year. Li Dam presses further, asking what happens if it can't be taken out before then. Wu replies solemnly, "You will die." Li Dam's face changes instantly, and the fear of death begins to haunt her. Not wanting to leave any regrets, she decides to spend her remaining year indulging in food. After feasting, she bids her friends farewell with reluctance. Dizzy, she stumbles and falls to the ground. When she looks up, she spots a red bead on the ground and shouts excitedly, "The bead popped out." Li Dam hurries home to tell Wu what happened. She then reaches out and firmly says, "I'm not going to die." Wu looks puzzled and asks why she is holding candy. Someone spat out. Helplessly, Li Dam throws the candy away, then feels a wave of nausea. Sensing something is wrong, Wu quickly uses his power to protect his beloved antique vase. In an instant, all the expensive antiques float into the air. The chaos finally ends when Wu opens the bathroom door. He sighs and mutters, "Can't believe I'm using my powers on this." The next day, Wu prepares a contract, asking Li Dam to follow the rules written on it. She is obliged to preserve the bead for a year, and during this time she is forbidden from contacting with men born in the year of the tiger, drinking alcohol, or even eating chicken. Li Dam wonders why she can't eat chicken. Wu explains that chicken is lethal to foxes, and since ancient times, chicken blood has been used to ward off bad luck. Every rule sounds absurd to Li Dam, but for the sake of her own life, she agrees. From then on, she keeps her distance from boys at all times. One day, someone suddenly calls out to her. Li Dam suddenly remembers that this senior, Sun Wu, is also born in the year of the tiger. He reminds her that she dropped something and kindly picks it up for her. Startled, Li Dam steps back and begs him to just throw it on the ground. Then she cautiously picks it up herself and rushes away. Sun Wu is completely puzzled by her strange behavior. After all, he is not only rich, but also the most admired heartthrob in school. Wherever he goes, girls flock to him, except for Li Dam, who avoids him as if he were a demon. This only makes him more curious about this unusual girl. Meanwhile, Wu meets up with an old friend. Haisun is also a nine-tailed fox, but she successfully became human 4 years ago. When she learns that Wu is living with a human girl, she gets excited and keeps teasing him about whether he is in love with her. Wu refuses to satisfy her curiosity, so Haisun warns him that the bead could suck up the girl's soul and kill her. Wu solemnly promises that he will never let her die. Back on campus, Li Dam keeps dodging boys born in the year of the tiger, but one mistake almost makes her fall. Luckily, a senior born in the year of the rabbit catches her in time, then invites her to a party that night. Li Dam politely declines, explaining she has to stop drinking. When he mentions there will be plenty of meat, her eyes light up, and she instantly changes her mind, full of anticipation. But when night comes, she sees a whole table covered in fried chicken and instantly breaks down. Just then, Sun Wu also shows up at the party. He ignores all the other girls and confidently walks up to Li Dam to greet her. No matter how much charm he shows, she just avoids him with a disgusted look. Both of them wonder why the other behaves this way. Finally, while Sun Wu is distracted by a phone call, Li Dam seizes the chance to slip away. But at the doorway, they bump into each other again. To get rid of this dangerous guy, Li Dam even rolls on the floor to dodge him, leaving Sun Wu stunned in place. Upon returning home, Li Dam complains to Wu about her miserable day, but he doesn't seem to understand her pain. In anger, she also drafts a contract, demanding that Wu work harder to find a proper solution and report his progress every Friday. On top of that, he must stop looking at her with those cold eyes. Even though Wu finds the contract ridiculous, he eventually signs it. Late at night, Lee Dam looks at a photo with her mom, tears streaming down her face. She has lived healthily for 18 years, but now she only has one left. Outside the door, Woo Yo accidentally witnesses this scene. Hye-sun's words suddenly echo in his mind. You already know how to get the bead out. For centuries, Woo Yo has searched for the one girl who can turn the bead blue. Only then can he finally become human. So he walks up to Lee Dam, wanting to confirm something. Before she can react, he grabs her hand, only to find the bead remains red. Out of guilt, he decides to take out the bead and set her free. But just as they are about to kiss, the bead bursts into a brilliant blue light. Only then does Woo Yo understand that Lee Dam is his destined one. The next day, he tells his fox friend everything. Hye-sun advises him to treat the girl well and even go as far as dating her. She explains that humans emit the best kind of energy when they're happy, and that energy turns the bead blue. She also reminds him this may be his last chance to become human. Meanwhile, Lee Dam can't stop thinking about the sudden embrace. It's the first time she has been flirted with by a man. Strictly speaking, it's not even a man, but a fox. She turns the experience into a story, trying to figure out what he is really trying to pull. Her friends suggest he probably just wanted to check his love. Lee Dam immediately denies it, nervously explaining that they only live together. They're not a couple. But before one issue settles, another arises. Sun Woo grabs Lee Dam's phone without permission and enters his own number, convinced that every girl likes this move. Unexpectedly, Lee Dam harshly scolds him for such disrespectful behavior, then storms off. Sun Woo doesn't give up and continues texting her, but Lee Dam remains uninterested in this popular senior. Suddenly, she feels a sharp stomach pain and runs to the bathroom. But then, the most awkward thing happens. The toilet gets clogged. Lee Dam doesn't want Woo Yo to see her embarrassment, so she asks Sun Woo if he has any tricks for unclogging a toilet. Upon receiving the text, Sun Woo looks a little startled, yet he offers a solution anyway. With his guidance, Lee Dam manages to unclog the toilet. Relieved, she thanks him and jokingly calls him the toilet fairy. Sun Woo seizes the chance to ask her out for a meal, and Lee Dam agrees without hesitation. At the same time, Woo Yo also begins to show kindness to Lee Dam. He brings her favorite pizza and even offers to cook for her. The sudden warmth leaves Lee Dam flustered. She recalls her friend's words, he must be trying to show affection. Even though she knows it's impossible, she can't help but ask Woo Yo, "Do you want to date me?" Woo Yo freezes, at a loss for words. Lee Dam keeps pressing him about why he did something weird, and it bothers her. Woo Yo explains that at first he was going to send you back, but then he suddenly realized that it'd be difficult for him to solve this problem all by himself. Lee Dam accepts the explanation, but still warns him not to do anything confusing. Then Woo Yo asks cautiously, "Would you go out with me if I asked you?" Lee Dam refuses without hesitation and says he's not her type. To ease the tension, Woo Yo lies that he's having withdrawal symptoms. Lee Dam nods, thinking to herself that the fox's mind is impossible to read. Even Woo Yo can't believe he comes up with such a lame excuse. Hye-sun can't help but laugh, mocking how the once charming nine-tailed fox has fallen to such a state. She reminds him that it's the 21st century, and sweet words alone don't win girls over, actions do. In other words, girls love gifts. Woo Yo remembers Lee Dam loves food, so he prepares a whole feast. But to his surprise, Lee Dam sincerely asks him, "Go on a date with me." It turns out that ever since she shared a meal with Sun Woo, he showed up everywhere she goes. Even when they didn't meet, his texts never stopped. Lee Dam was completely fed up with him. What she doesn't know is that Sun Woo only clings to her because of a bet. To prove his charm, he wagered 100,000 won with his friends, betting on whether Lee Dam would fall for him. Back in the present, Lee Dam confesses her situation to Woo Yo. She wants her senior to be disappointed in her so he will stay away. That's why she asks Woo Yo for a mock date to find out the least likable side of herself. Woo Yo wants to refuse, but when he hears the senior is a tiger, he quickly changes his mind. On the day of the date, Woo Yo shows up in a sharp suit, so handsome that Lee Dam can hardly look away. But he suggests she wear an old shabby t-shirt. At the restaurant, he urges her to eat black bean noodles, saying her messy look is very off-putting. Even over coffee, he reminds her to slurp loudly, which makes her seem uncultured. His words sound sincere, but they leave Lee Dam feeling crushed. She realizes she just needs to be herself, because she's already unlikable enough. Just as the date is about to end, Sun Woo suddenly shows up. Woo Yo pulls Lee Dam into his arms, and her heart races uncontrollably. The two men lock eyes, and the air fills with silent rivalry. Sun Woo refuses to back down and reminds Lee Dam of their weekend date. Before leaving, he deliberately brushes her hair with his hand. That small gesture leaves Lee Dam lying in pain all night. Woo Yo gently rubs her stomach to ease her discomfort and whispers that, no matter what happens that day, he will come protect her right away. Soon, the real date arrives. Lee Dam eats black bean noodles without caring about her image and cracks one boring joke after another. As if fate is on her side, a sudden downpour begins. Sun Woo wants to call a taxi but realizes his sister has stolen all his cash. Lee Dam signals for him to follow her and promises to get him home safely. Yet her casual smile leaves a lasting mark in Sun Woo's heart. After they part, Lee Dam secretly feels relieved, sure that Sun Woo was totally turned off. But the truth is the opposite. After spending the whole day together, Sun Woo finds the girl even more adorable. Lee Dam rushes home, eager to tell Woo Yo that she did perfectly today. But soon after, she gets a text from Sun Woo inviting her to a movie. The next day, Lee Dam dresses up carefully and heads out with joy. Woo Yo thinks she is going on a date, and his heart instantly feels sour. But in reality, she is going to her younger brother's competition. Just then, Hae-sun finds Woo Yo and asks him to help arrange for her to attend university. She explains that she wants to experience a different kind of life and find some fresh excitement. In exchange, she promises to keep a close eye on Lee Dam. Thinking about that dangerous tiger guy at school, Woo Yo readily agrees to the deal. The following day, the gorgeous Hae-sun walks across campus and immediately draws countless stares. As promised, she approaches that special human girl and befriends her. From then on, Hae-sun keeps staring at Lee Dam, and her excessive attention makes Lee Dam deeply uncomfortable. In class, the professor assigns a research project on romantic relationships. Looking at the pairing list, Jae-jin widens his eyes. His partner turns out to be Hae-sun. Lee Dam is just as shocked because she is paired with the tiger guy. The professor adds that each group will go on one date per week and write their own reports. During the break, Sun Woo chats with a few boys about the new transfer student. The conversation gradually turns crude, and they start mocking Lee Dam's looks. Sun Woo doesn't join in, but he doesn't stop them either. At that moment, Lee Dam happens to walk by and hears their insults. She demands an apology, but they brush it off as just a joke. Furious, she snaps that they must have grown up without any parental upbringing to be so rude, then storms off. Sun Woo immediately runs after her to apologize, explaining that he didn't say anything. But Lee Dam points out that he shouldn't have turned a blind eye to them saying such things. Her words leave Sun Woo unsettled. Soon the mean girls begin gossiping about boys rating Lee Dam by her looks. They even isolate her during group work. Angry, Lee Dam removes them all from her list and finishes the report on her own. As she leaves the library, she unexpectedly runs into Woo Yo. He softly says, "I came because you were running late." At that moment, Lee Dam can no longer hold back her tears from the entire day. She throws herself into his arms and chokes out her grievances. The day for the dating assignment finally arrives. Unfortunately, it is also the first day of Lee Dam's period. Seeing her in such pain makes Woo Yo anxious. Lee Dam is even more terrified that on such a terrible day, if she accidentally touches the tiger guy, it would feel no different from dying. Thankfully, Woo Yo comes up with a clever solution. He transforms into her likeness and attends the date instead of her. But Sun Woo soon senses something is off. The Lee Dam before him is unusually polite, completely different from her free-spirited self. After dinner, they go to the movies, where they bump into Jae-jin and Hye-sun, who are also on their assignment. The moment Jae-jin sees Lee Dam, he gets excited and, just like always, squishes her cheeks. But Hye-sun instantly notices that this is not Lee Dam, and then deliberately teases Sun Woo and Lee Dam for being such a perfect match. Woo Yo quickly calls her out under some excuse, warning her not to cause trouble today. After the date ends, Wu-yo returns home exhausted. Li Dam gently covers him with a blanket and falls asleep beside him. Watching her peaceful face, Wu-yo suddenly recalls what Hye-sun told him earlier. She reminds him not to get too attached to that human girl, because once personal feelings are involved, it never ends well. With this concern in mind, Wu-yo begins to deliberately distance himself from Li Dam. Li Dam soon notices his coldness and feels an inexplicable sense of loss. One night, she finally can't hold back and confronts him. "Why did you suddenly turn a cold shoulder?" Wu-yo explains that maybe he shouldn't get too involved in her life. Li Dam admits she hates the way things are between them now and wishes they could go back to how it used to be. Hearing this, Wu-yo decides not to hide his true feelings anymore. The next day, he thoughtfully lays a fluffy blanket on the seat and waits for Li Dam to finish class. Unexpectedly, an uninvited guest gets into the car first. Hye-sun reminds him again not to let his feelings get the better of him and mess everything up. After saying that, she casually touches up her makeup and tells him to drive her to a hotel. Seeing Li Dam approach, Wu-yo has no choice but to use power. When Hye-sun comes back to her senses, she finds herself sitting on the hood of Jae-jin's car. The scene instantly turns unbearably awkward. Meanwhile, Li Dam's friend happens to see her happily getting into the car. She immediately goes to Jae-jin and reveals she sees the guy Li Dam has a crush on. But instead of being happy, Jae-jin feels disappointed. He thinks he is Li Dam's closest friend, yet realizes he knows almost nothing about her private life. Li Dam quickly notices something is off and asks him what's wrong. Jae-jin complains that she shouldn't keep secrets from him, then storms off. Li Dam is left puzzled, completely unable to understand what he means. In the following days, every time she greets him, he ignores her. Finally, Li Dam can't take it anymore and calls Jae-jin, demanding he explain. Unexpectedly, he just hangs up on her. Li Dam shouts angrily, startling Wu-yo, who is quietly reading. At the same time, Sunwoo realizes he truly likes Li Dam. Out of guilt, he suggests ending the bet with his friends and pays 100,000 won, but his friends feel deeply disappointed. After all, he once swore that Li Dam would definitely fall for him. Jae-jin overhears their conversation and burns with rage. He grabs Sunwoo by the collar and demands to know if he made a bet over Li Dam. Sunwoo admits he realizes it is wrong, so he ends it. He also begs Jae-jin not to tell Li Dam. Jae-jin throws a punch and warns him to stay away from Li Dam and not make a fool out of her, but no one notices that Li Dam already stands behind them. Facing the chaos, she says nothing and just turns away in disappointment. Sunwoo quickly chases after her to apologize, admitting he made a bet over her. Li Dam doesn't explode in anger. She just coldly says she doesn't want anything to do with him. Recently, brutal murders keep happening, and all the victims' organs were removed. Hye-sun senses something is wrong and immediately contacts Wu-yo, pointing out these cases are likely not done by humans. Hearing this, Wu-yo suddenly feels a wave of inexplicable unease. That very night, an eerie cat appears outside his window. Even more unusual, it seems to secretly watch Li Dam's every move. Just as the cat quietly leaves, Wu-yo suddenly senses something odd. Then, the cat's shadow slowly transforms into a human shape. But when Wu-yo rushes over, the figure vanishes without a trace. To uncover the truth, Wu-yo disguises himself as a cop and sneaks into the station, pulling up the files of all the victims. He is shocked to discover that all these women are connected to him. Hye-sun immediately warns him that Li Dam may very well become the killer's next target. To ensure Li Dam's safety, Wu-yo starts driving her to and from school every day, while Hye-sun shadows her on campus, never leaving her side. As midterms approach, Li Dam visits a bookstore to pick out reference books. A strange man suddenly appears and cryptically warns her to be careful. Before she can react, he vanishes without a trace. Back home, Li Dam borrows a few ancient books from Wu-yo. While flipping through the pages, she accidentally discovers a painting of a woman. Curious, she asks who she is, and Wu-yo admits she is his first love. Even though the woman died long ago, Li Dam still feels a pang of jealousy. Her unease only grows when she notices that the florist near campus looks almost identical to Wuyo's first love. From then on, whenever Wuyo comes to pick her up, she deliberately avoids walking past that shop. Soon after, the mysterious man from the bookstore meets with two nine-tailed foxes. His true identity is revealed. He is the mountain spirit. He explains that Li Dam has remained safe because he has been protecting her in secret. He also tells them the murderer is a fox demon who has lived for 1,000 years but has never become human. She now wants to steal Wuyo's bead to gain another chance of becoming human. The mountain spirit then declares that, in order not to disrupt the natural order, he will no longer protect the human girl. That night, Wuyo comes to Li Dam's side. Following her gaze, he notices the florist. Li Dam, mistaking them for rekindling old feelings, walks away in disappointment. But in reality, the florist is actually that very fox demon. She openly admits that the bead is what she's after, which means Li Dam will be in danger. Meanwhile, Li Dam is at the library, searching for materials. The fox demon, now disguised as Wuyo, approaches her and tries to take the bead from her body. Just in time, the real Wuyo arrives and pulls the demon away. After a fierce battle, the demon is completely destroyed. Just then, the mountain spirit reappears, reminding Wuyo not to follow in her footsteps. He urges Wuyo to see the human girl as his last hope to finally become human. After much thought, Wuyo can't bring himself to hurt Li Dam, so he decides to set her free. He invites her out for a day and takes plenty of photos with her as their final memories. Beneath the neon lights, Wuyo confesses he has always known how to take out the bead, but selfishly kept her by his side, hoping she would nourish it. Though he craves human energy, he now chooses to let her go. With a gentle kiss, he takes out the bead and erases her memories. The next morning, Li Dam wakes up at home, her life seemingly back to normal. But something is different. Her memories are not erased. Every time she recalls their sweet moments, she cannot stop herself from crying. To forget the heartless man, she drowns herself in fried chicken, heavy drinking, and endless karaoke nights with friends. Yet when the noise fades, loneliness always returns. At the same time, Wuyo also misses her every day and night. In the end, he can no longer resist and shows up at her university. Seeing the most familiar stranger before her eyes, Li Dam is overwhelmed with emotions. She forces herself to act cold, unwilling to have anything more to do with him. Things don't go as she wishes. Wuyo not only shows up in her life again, but also becomes her teacher. All the girls scream over his good looks, while Li Dam just sighs, worried he has ulterior motives. More helplessly, she keeps running into him as if it's fate. The atmosphere instantly turns awkward and delicate. Suddenly, the elevator shakes, and both guys instinctively reach out to steady her. Li Dam completely ignores Wuyo, thanking only Sun Wu and even inviting him out for a meal. Seeing them so close, Wuyo feels deeply bitter. At dinner, Sun Wu gathers the courage to confess his feeling. But in Li Dam's heart, there is only Wuyo. The moment he appears, no one else fits in her eyes. So she turns Sun Wu down and admits that she already likes someone. Soon after, the school organizes a history trip, and the destination happens to be the same place she once visited with Wuyo. She can't help walking over to the pile of stones they built together and stares at it in a daze. From afar, Wuyo watches her quietly and suddenly realizes her memory doesn't seem erased. When night falls, Li Dam unconsciously walks to the spot where they parted for the last time. Just then, Wuyo appears. He walks up to her and softly asks, "You still remember, don't you?" Hearing this, Li Dam can no longer hold back the grievance in her heart. Choking up, she says she has tried her best to pretend not to know him, but every time he comes close, her heart can't help but flutter. With tears in her eyes, she asks, "Am I really nothing to you?" Looking at the brave girl before him, Wuyo feels his heart stirred once again after so long. All this time, he has kept his feelings down because he knows love between a human and a fox can never end well. Calmly, he tells her, "You deserve better, and you should meet someone who's normal and safe." But Li Dam doesn't back down. Instead, she says firmly, "I like you. Please like me back." Her reckless, bold confession brings back every memory they've shared. Only then does Wuyo realize how much she truly means to him. He hugs Li Dam tightly and comes back to her side. After the trip, the two begin their first official date, just like an ordinary couple. Watching Li Dam enjoy fried chicken with delight, Woo-yo, for the first time, feels a human-like craving for food. But Hae-sun reminds him that it isn't real hunger, it's the desire for prey. The more he desires Li Dam, the stronger his appetite will get. When Woo-yo sees Li Dam again, he can't resist and kisses her passionately. In a flash, his inner beast takes over and his eyes glow red. Startled, Li Dam quickly pushes him away. Only then does Woo-yo realize he might hurt her if he loses control. Hae-sun advises Woo-yo to do his best to avoid physical contact with Li Dam. This means they must begin a platonic relationship. Yet right now, Li Dam is fully immersed in romance, eagerly yearning for closer contact with Woo-yo. The next day, the students suddenly receive a notice that Woo-yo cancels class. Worried, Li Dam rushes to the office and finds him unconscious, his face pale. Hearing her voice, Woo-yo slowly opens his eyes, and that uncontrollable desire sweeps over him again. Luckily, Hae-sun shows up in time and hurriedly takes Li Dam away. Afterward, Li Dam wants to know what is wrong with him. Hae-sun doesn't know how to explain and can only say that it's all due to the nature of the Fox clan. Meanwhile, Woo-yo feels the bead filling up with energy, which naturally comes from Li Dam. To keep her from getting hurt, he has to stay away from her for now, until he finds a solution. Elsewhere, Sun-woo notices that Li Dam looks much slimmer than before and worriedly asks if she feels unwell. At first, Li Dam is confused, but when she weighs herself at home, she discovers she has lost 10 whole pounds. Only then does she believe that Woo-yo has taken her energy. From that day on, she stays away from him as promised, but the distance becomes a torment for both of them. Before long, the mountain spirit appears again and warns Woo-yo that humans are meant to be with humans. With a wave of his hand, he forcibly ties the red thread between Li Dam and Sun-woo, which means they are fated lovers. Woo-yo bursts with anger and shouts, "Even a docile fox bites when you provoke it." But the mountain spirit only smiles faintly and vanishes without a trace. In the days that follow, even though Li Dam doesn't like Sun-woo, she can't help but worry about him. Their paths cross more and more, and they even work part-time at the same place. Not wanting to worry her boyfriend, Li Dam doesn't mention that Sun-woo is her co-worker. Still, Woo-yo has already seen them leaving work together, and unease grows in his heart. During the date, he's about to bring up the topic of her part-time work, but suddenly the power goes out. In the darkness, they stumble, and the bead once again slips into Li Dam's mouth. This time, Woo-yo kisses her passionately without hesitation and takes out the bead. Afterward, Li Dam admits she has been working with Sun-woo. Woo-yo also reveals that there is a red thread on her finger, connecting her to Sun-woo. Still, he insists that as long as they love each other, not even fate can tear them apart. At first, the red thread is invisible to Li Dam, but then one day she suddenly sees it. She tries to rip it off, but accidentally falls down the stairs. Woo-yo happens to see this and runs toward her, but suddenly, time freezes. The mountain spirit appears before Li Dam and says coldly, "That's what happens when you mess with your fate." He then decides to let her see her future with her own eyes. Soon, Li Dam falls into a deep sleep. In her dream, she and Sun-woo look like a sweet couple in love. Meanwhile, Woo-yo struggles free of the restraints and grabs the unconscious Li Dam in his arms. He demands to know what the mountain spirit has done to her. The spirit explains that he just let her dream a little. He says no matter how Li Dam chooses her fate, all Woo-yo can do is accept it. Terrified, Woo-yo keeps calling her name. Thankfully, everything eventually returns to normal, and Li Dam regains consciousness. Back home, Woo-yo confesses the entire story from beginning to end. Although Li Dam is surprised, she firmly says that the stupid dream and thread mean nothing to them. No matter what, her feelings for him remain unshakable. Even so, Woo-yo still feels uneasy. He leans gently against her shoulder, clutching the red thread tightly in his hand. Soon, the history club organizes a 2-day field trip. Unexpected moments of subtle romance keep happening between Li Dam and Sun-woo, but she always shows resistance, deliberately avoiding any contact with him. Feeling dejected, Sunwoo can only drown his sorrows in alcohol. Lee Dam steps outside and sees snow falling from the sky. Guided by the red thread, she unconsciously walks toward the drunken Sunwoo. He suddenly grabs her hand tightly and confesses his feelings, but Lee Dam firmly rejects him again. Later, she asks Hye-sun whether only people connected by the red thread can be fated lovers. Hye-sun answers that maybe yes, maybe no, but humans can choose their own fate. After the trip, Lee Dam runs eagerly to her boyfriend. Suddenly, she almost stumbles, but Sunwoo quickly catches her. Seeing this, Woo-yo hurries to her side. In the tense atmosphere between the two men, Lee Dam admits that Woo-yo is her boyfriend. Sunwoo can't believe it. He understands that he can't be her boyfriend, but Woo-yo can't be one either. Recently, rumors have been spreading on campus about Woo-yo and a female teacher, and Sunwoo saw them. Woo-yo immediately pulls Lee Dam away and then explains that they had coffee because of schoolwork. Lee Dam accepts his explanation and also admits that Sunwoo confessed to her again yesterday. Noticing Woo-yo's unease, she decides to decide her own fate. She quits her part-time job to avoid further contact with Sunwoo. But rumors about Woo-yo grow louder, and Lee Dam even sees a photo of him being intimate with the female teacher. Just then, Jae-jin tells her he just saw the female teacher walk into Woo-yo's office. Lee Dam immediately feels uneasy. She runs over in a panic, only to see Woo-yo doing something terrifying to the female teacher. Only then does she realize that Woo-yo has been absorbing energy from other women. Unable to explain himself, Woo-yo pleads with her to bear with him just a bit more until he becomes human. Lee Dam says she can give everything for love, but she cannot accept him hurting others to protect her. With that, she mercilessly breaks up with him. Meanwhile, Hye-sun is also shocked when she sees the photo. When she presses him, Woo-yo finally tells the truth. One night not long ago, the bead suddenly turned blue. In that instant, he desperately longed to become human and live a simple, happy life with Lee Dam. But to keep her safe, he chose to hurt others. Now he realizes that his selfishness and cruelty only push her farther away. Hye-sun originally does not want to interfere, but seeing Lee Dam's heartbroken look, she stops her. She points out that if Woo-yo truly wanted to hide this, Lee Dam would never know the truth. Yet instead, he chose to confess. This shows that only she can make him more human. Hearing this, Lee Dam feels even more torn. Then Hye-sun mentions that the bead has already turned blue. Lee Dam does not understand what she means. Hye-sun is a little surprised, then explains if the red bead turns blue with enough human energy, a nine-tailed fox can finally become human. She adds that ever since Woo-yo met Lee Dam, the bead has started changing color, but only half of it is blue. This also explains why he suddenly becomes so desperate to take in more energy. After learning the truth, Lee Dam immediately runs to Woo-yo's side. He apologizes again, admitting he should not ignore her feelings and promises not to act recklessly anymore. Lee Dam feels heartbroken. She grabs his hand and asks him to give her the bead. Woo-yo refuses without hesitation. He does not want to watch her suffer because of him. Lee Dam retorts, "Do you look down on my energy?" Woo-yo urges her to calm down and not act rashly, but Lee Dam suddenly throws herself at him, only to watch him vanish in an instant. In the days that follow, she pesters him every day for the bead, but Woo-yo has no choice but to keep avoiding her, leaving Lee Dam screaming in anger. Soon after, Woo-yo grows extremely weak from consuming too much energy. Hye-sun decides to share her own energy with him, saying this is like giving chocolates to a colleague as a courtesy on Valentine's Day. Though they both hate each other, their hands still remain tightly clasped. In addition to the trouble caused by the bead, Lee Dam also has to face the problem of the red thread. Just as she is about to cut it with a knife, time freezes again. Then the mountain spirit appears and reveals a secret. What truly turns the bead blue is not energy, but humanity. Long ago, the bead once turned blue, but after watching the woman he loved die before his eyes, Woo-yo closed his heart and missed his chance to become human. Not until he meets Lee Dam does the bead turn blue again, and now he desperately wants to be human. The mountain spirit admits all the obstacles he creates are meant to help Wuyo experience anger and frustration. He wants Wuyo to become human more than anyone else, so he asks Li Dam to keep guiding him. Later that evening, Li Dam shows up at Wuyo's place with her suitcase, declaring that they will live together again. She plans to teach him what humanity really means through everyday life, but not long after, their intimate photos spread across campus. Students start attacking Li Dam, accusing her of flirting with Sunwoo while already having a boyfriend. Some even spread rumors that she gets close to the professor only to earn higher grades. To put an end to the rumors, Li Dam has no choice but to drop the class. Sunwoo blames himself, thinking he made it too obvious that he liked her and draw unwanted attention. He offers to clear things up for her, but Li Dam refuses. Just then, his sister texts that his departure date is set. Earlier, Sunwoo promised his parents he would study abroad and later take over the family business. Watching Li Dam walk away, he decides to confess his feelings one last time. His sudden confession catches Li Dam off guard, but when she learns he is about to leave the country, she still reaches out her hand to say a final goodbye. Sunwoo recalls every moment he shares with her, his heart filled with regret and sorrow. Just then, the red thread suddenly breaks. Wuyo seems to sense it and immediately finds Li Dam. She says in a relaxed tone that everything is already settled, only when Wuyo reminds her. Does Li Dam notice that the red thread on her hand disappears? She then firmly says that fate is not decided by some thread, but by ourselves. Just then, the female teacher calls. Encouraged by Li Dam, Wuyo sincerely apologizes to her and admits that he should not use her feelings. After everything is settled, the two of them go home together. On the way, Li Dam confesses to Wuyo that the key to turning the bead blue is humanity, and that this is the real reason she lives with him. She also makes a deal with the mountain spirit. Before Wuyo becomes human, the mountain spirit protects Li Dam from sickness or death. This means she will never fall into danger again. Only then does Wuyo finally feel at ease. He holds her tightly and gives her his deepest kiss. In the morning, Wuyo gently watches Li Dam wake up. They both still blush and feel their hearts race as they recall their hot night, unable to stay calm even while working. Later, they head to school together. Li Dam suddenly realizes she forgets her report. Wuyo tries to teleport home to get it, but they accidentally land in Hyasun's car. In hundreds of years, he never makes such a clumsy mistake, and unease rises in his heart. So he immediately summons Hyasun, hoping to figure it out with her. Hyasun remembers how she teleported to Paris 4 years ago to go shopping, but she couldn't teleport back. When she was arrested for illegal entry, she suddenly managed to teleport home again. A few days later, she became human. So Hyasun concludes that Wuyo is really going to turn human. Excited, Wuyo wants to share the good news with Li Dam, but before he can speak, he notices his hands start turning transparent. Not only that, every trace of his existence begins to disappear. He soon realizes the end is near. Li Dam mistakes it for a sign that he is turning human and hugs him excitedly. Facing this sudden change, Wuyo chooses to hide the truth. With little time left, he treasures every moment with Li Dam even more. He not only moves into her room to sleep by her side, but even suggests skipping classes to go out and have fun together. However, when they visit the lantern house, Li Dam stumbles. Wuyo tries to catch her but suddenly teleports to the road. Seeing the bead shatter, he realizes his time is running out. This sudden disappearance makes Li Dam deeply worried, but no matter how she questions him, Wuyo stays silent. To keep her from finding out the truth, he suggests she spend more time with her family. Optimistic as always, Li Dam still looks forward to their reunion, while Wuyo breaks down crying alone at home. Later, he teleports to Hyasun's house to talk with her. This time, they do not bicker as usual. Wuyo sincerely thanks her for all her help and then asks her to fulfill his final wish. Meanwhile, Li Dam accidentally notices that Wuyo is slowly fading from their group photo. Thinking about everything that has happened recently, a strong sense of unease rises in her heart. At that very moment, Wuyo is writing a farewell letter to Li Dam. He looks back on his long and lonely life and only after meeting Li Dam does he feel the warmth of being alive for the first time. Li Dam hurriedly calls Wu Yo and rushes to his place, not realizing a truck is speeding toward her. At the last second, Wu Yo appears and pushes her away. Seeing that Li Dam is safe, tears of relief fall from his eyes, and then he vanishes like foam. When Hai-sun hears the news, she comes to Li Dam right away. She wants to comfort her, but she cannot hold back her own tears. Soon after, however, things take a turn. Li Dam notices that Wu Yo's photos on her phone do not disappear, and this gives her a spark of hope. So she decides to return to Wu Yo's place and wait quietly. Days pass, spring arrives, but Wu Yo never comes back. To help her let go, he soon reveals that Wu Yo once asked her for a favor. He already knew that if he disappeared, Li Dam would fall into endless grief, so he begged Hai-sun to erase her memory. He hoped she could live happily, even if she forgot him forever. Li Dam breaks down in tears. She refuses Hai-sun, saying she never wants to forget him, even if she has to live in pain. Meanwhile, Wu Yo is in a dark and mysterious space. He seems to hear Li Dam crying, and tears fall from his eyes. Now Wu Yo understands patience, love, and sacrifice, and finally finds a reason to live. That means he is now eligible to turn into a human. When morning comes again, Li Dam wakes up on the sofa. This time, what greets her is Wu Yo's gentle voice. Her eyes fill with tears, but now they shine with happiness and joy.